Officers love getting rid of applications on their pile. If they have something that's dead easy, yeah, this is acceptable, write up their decision, gone. They love that. They don't want stuff where they're asking you for information all the time, because it just adds to their pile and it adds to their mental stress of having all these applications. The first thing I would do before you even begin to think about submitting an application for planning permission is make sure you do your research. I know it's easy to say and it's probably a boring thing to say, but if you don't do your research and you don't for yourself figure out what is acceptable in your area, then you're going to struggle to get success with the council, because mistakes that a lot of applicants make is that they expect the officer to design stuff for them. So they think they try and build up this massive design, and then the officer's going to tell me, oh, well, if you reduce it by so-and-so meters, 2 meters, 3 meters or whatever, then I'll be golden. Officers don't have any time for that. I've done a video on that to explain, but officers have no time for that. If something's too big, it's too big, they'll just refuse it, and you would have just wasted everyone's time. The other thing you can do before you submit your application is to talk to your neighbours, because once objections start coming in for your application, then it kind of attracts with it a high level of scrutiny. If you think from an officer's point of view, they've got 2 applications for the same thing. One has got no objections to it whatsoever, and one has got 12. The one with 12 is going to take a lot more attention, both from the officer itself, their managers, and also the public, who will want to know the outcome of those applications. So really have that in mind. Everything you do before you even talk to an officer, before you talk to the local planning authority, get all of that in line. Do your research. Don't try and expect to get something too big. Don't expect the officer to do it for you. And talk to your neighbours before. Tell them what's coming, and get them on side, really. Don't let them be struck by a consultation by the council, which they more often than not will object to, and will really hurt your chances of getting anywhere. The second one I would say is submitting a good application. And what I mean by that is when an officer receives an application, if they see that the application forms are incorrect, the drawings aren't correct, the drawing numbers are wrong, they haven't submitted the right documents, then it's just going to take you forever to sort out. The whole big picture of this is that you want the officer to not have any questions, or have as fewer questions as possible about your application. So if they're wondering who's the applicant, how big is the site, which all comes in the forms, and if they're wondering what you're actually proposing through your drawings, they can't figure it out because you've forgotten, or you don't submit a drawing and you don't give the full picture of what you're proposing, you're just going to get asked that question anyway. And the second you get asked a question by an officer, that's a delay. They'll send out a question to you, normally really late in the process, and that just gives them more time to wait for the response, and then wait to respond to your response, which just slows everything down. So having all of that in line at the beginning. Now, if you're doing your first time, I appreciate that's hard, but I can do more videos to explain what helps with that. But just from a high level point of view, submitting application forms that are correct, have all the information on it, don't hide anything. The same with drawings. Make sure all the drawings are correct. Make sure you have plans, elevations, sections. Make sure you're clear on what materials you're proposing. You want to reduce all time that the officer spends trying to figure it out. If it's very quick and it's very easy to understand, clear drawings, you're onto a winner, and you're going to save yourself so much time. Like I said before, the second an officer asks you a question, the clock is ticking and you're just looking at delays. Make sure you respond to an officer immediately. If they send you an email asking for information, make sure you get that as soon as you physically can. So the whole point of this is that when you go to the local planning authority, just make sure that through that whole determination process you are ready and available to answer anything that may come up. Because if an officer asks you for information, that's their opportunity to wait. They can wait a week or whatever to even respond to your response. So being quick on that to respond to them is really important. And the other thing about responding is that you want to head them off at the pass. So if you see objections coming in for your application, check your application on their online portal to see how it's going. See if there's been any objections uploaded, and if there have, I would maybe wait. So once the consultation period is over, so there's a 3-week consultation period. Once that is over, get yourself, download all the objections and respond to them for the officer, and just send them a nice email or a document that they can then look through to see how your proposal addresses those objections, or your response to those objections. Because otherwise the officer is just going to ask you, and like I said before, you're going to be toing and froing. It's going to take some time. So if you head that off at the pass, respond for them, then that's really going to help you. And one of the last things I would say is, and it's not ideal, but if you think that your application is going to take a long time, or is going to go over the statutory 8 weeks, then you can negotiate an extension of time. It's quite a common misconception that once the 8 weeks is over, you get a decision one way or the other, or you get a refusal just so to save the council time. That's not the case. So for context, what's going on is that the central government are putting pressure on authorities to determine their applications on time. And if they're not doing that, a certain amount of their decisions on time, then they get thrown into what's called special measures, which basically means that the central government's going to decide them for them. So every council's scared of that. So that's why now you see extensions of time happen quite often, because when it comes to the books, cooking the books effectively, if an officer negotiates an extension of time, no matter how long after the 8 weeks, it goes down on the stats as something that was determined on time. Don't assume when it comes to extension of time, if you're coming to the 8 weeks and you think you're not going to get a decision, you can do what's called a appeal against non-determination, which is you can go to the planning inspectorate who you appeal to, and you can appeal against non-determination, which basically means that you're appealing against no decision made. But I would be very careful using that, and only use that if you really are confident of success or have a lot of time on your hands, because you may think that a local council takes a long time, but the inspectorate takes a hell of a lot longer. You might be taking 2 months just to get your appeal validated. So just bear that in mind before you start threatening that to the local council. And the very last one is, planning is a tough thing for people to get their heads around. It's a very, very frustrating process for a lot of people. But the bigger picture is the councils are really struggling for funding, for budgets. So their staff is limited, and the staff have up to 100 applications at any one time, and it's really tough on officers. So that's why all of these steps I'm outlining here will help get you through that pile of theirs, because officers love getting rid of applications on their pile. If they have something that's dead easy, and they can just bang through, this is acceptable, write up the decision, gone. They love that. They don't want stuff where they're asking you for information all the time, because it just adds to their pile, and it adds to their mental stress of having all these applications. So don't get angry with it. It's a process. Just accept it for what it is, and just understand the context, of what I've laid out here, and it will go a long way to saving you weeks and weeks and weeks. All of these things put together. Those are the tips. I wish you luck on your application. I hope it goes well for you. If you have any comments, submit them below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you on the next video.